Yeah,
everybody seems to
definitely.
be here. All the usual suspects. I was browsing through it, and I have to say, Dario Biggie has the best lighting of all. He's the most handsome on camera, I feel.
Dario, stop it.
Oh,
Man,
good.
really? Dario, we're going to bring him up.
I'm upset now. I'm taking that badly.
Yeah.
It does look a little like a Godfather lighting, you know. Warren, what happened to your background? Tell me, is there a special meaning behind the QR code? Do we need to scan it? I was trying to do it earlier, but it didn't work.
Yeah, the QR code is so you can win the big prizes in Slido.
Okay.
And I will show you that in a minute.
Excellent. Go ahead.
That's what that's about. But good question. But how are you? How are you, Dado?
I actually just recovered from NAB, to be honest. I think I spent a couple of days sleeping, you know. Every time is the same, you know, you go to Vegas and then you come back and you need 2 days holidays just to recover. It really, like, you know, so this is what happened to me. It was very, very busy NAB, you know, and it was great to see everybody out there, you know, and be in person. And it was nice that it was smaller because I felt you were really able to connect to people and talk. And I went just to few like those kind of drinks parties and everything afterwards. And I felt that it was really, you know, just much mellower, and we were able to connect with one another and you know, and speak to 10 important people you needed to speak in one day. So it's nice to see some normality, you know, like I felt that was very good. And it was also nice that when I came home, I tested, you know, COVID twice, or, you know, and each time I was negative. So it was also good to know that I didn't get any of that. Even though it was
mate,
a huge crowd.
you just mentioned the C word, which you can't do in this show. So
I'm sorry. Oh my God. Was there a word? Was there a word?
C word, the C word. Did we do the intros? Sorry, I had to go and refresh myself. Did I miss that bit, or have you done that?
We have not.
No, we haven't.
No. Okay, so well, let's Lynette, welcome. You do yours first. Ladies first. A little bit about yourself, please.
All right, I'm Lynette Dunsing. I'm senior colorist at Instinctual. I've been doing this for a really long time, more than 30 years. Starting in their film early telecine days and all of that. And I wanted to just rewind one moment just to say how much I loved seeing Steve and Alex and their presentation on ACEs. I'm a huge fan, and a huge fan of them. So I really enjoyed that.
So Lynette, ladies first. You mentioned Osark as one of your shows. It's on Netflix. Tell us your thoughts.
Well, I wanted to kind of give a little bit of a background about why I picked some of the things I picked. I picked this show and 2 others. And we've been having a lot of discussions lately with the Colorist Society about recognition for what color finishing artists bring to the table, which is about being part of the storytelling and about how color tells so much about what it is that you're seeing. And it's part of the experience of not just what the writer has written or the producers and director, whatever it is that they want to tell you the story is about, but about how color lends itself to that. And I picked Osark just because part of this story, if any of you have seen this, is about this cringe-worthy, uncomfortable feeling that one has when the story is being told to them. These people have gotten themselves into a very uncomfortable situation, a very life and death, very, very just precarious situation, a cringe-worthy situation, and the color lends itself to that. This very, very, very moody, very, very sad, very gray, cool toned. Also, when they're in a lot of trouble with the mob down in Mexico, that they have this very, very warm kind of hellish feeling that is being conveyed on screen. And that's one of the things that I just think is just so amazing about what it is that color finishing artists do, which is to help tell that story. And I don't know how many of you have seen Ozark, but it's really pretty cool. Tim Stippen is the colorist on this. I'm a big fan of Tim and all of the amazing work that he's done on so many feature films as well.
Yeah,
What do
it's
you
very
think?
brave, isn't it? It's very brave, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And now we see more and more of this. But when Ozark started a number of seasons ago, it was a look that was not always seen. And we all do stylized looks. And but I think that this in particular was captured by the cinematographer so beautifully. Ben Cutchins and Mark Williams and Armando Salas. And for the color finishing artist Tim to be able to bring that creative vision to the screen, I think is really, really great. That's my first one.
I like it.
What,
I have to.
Dado, what do you think?
Can I just say something on Ozark? I have to say that what's wonderful to see with Osark is how well they use their look as their brand. Because, you know, every billboard, every photo, every still image you ever find on Osark has that look, has a greenish look in it. It is impossible to find one still image that is used for advertising purposes or, you know, that hasn't got that look in. And I think this is really like a huge congratulations to, you know, how far they understood the importance of that look DNA and how they managed to reach out to the audience. Because the moment you look at an image from Ozark, no matter where, you know it's Ozark. You know that this is the show. You don't even need to read the name of the show. Just based on that greenish tint, you know that this is the show. And I think this is one thing that where you know, like we as a colorist can actually you know, reach out just beyond the production department to go to the marketing departments and help them understand how, you know, that particular look and feel that is being built into an image can also be used as a part of the overall marketing strategy. I really think they did an amazing job.
Yeah. Dado, this is yours. I don't know this show. I don't know this show.
Okay, let me tell you.
Am I missing out?
Totally. Look, you know, I have a little fetish for Hollywood in 70s. Like Los Angeles in 70s for me, I must have in my previous life lived just before I was born in 70s. I must have lived in or whatever. I just love it, especially since I saw Licorice Pizza. You know, I was like, my God, this era is just so good, so interesting. That kind of crazy Hollywood that was happening back then. And by the way, it's all happening in the Valley. So, you know, it has a kind of, you know, its own particular feel. Now, Licorice Pizza was shot on film. Everything was done, you know, photochemically. So I really didn't want to think of it even as an example, but this is not the case. This is actually also digitally and also graded by Tim Stippen. I mean, he's rocking. That guy is amazing. I mean, you know, super brave, super brave. Now, what I really love is if I can watch a show that takes me into 70s, but it doesn't make image look old, right? It's not about like, you know, putting some, you know, nasty film grain inside and trying to kind of make everything just look as if it was shot on film. No, it's not about that. It does look as if it's 70s. It does have all this kind of remnants of film, but it doesn't, you know, necessarily look like an old film. You know what I mean? Like it looks like, you know, the show how I would want to watch on my brand new OLED TV, and I want to get all the benefit of my beautiful HDR, of my beautiful tones, of all the colors and everything. But, you know, I still want to feel I'm back in the 70s. And there is no doubt he succeeded. I mean, look, you know, the production as well is amazing. I mean, you know, just starting, you know, with costumes, and there is always a little bit like in interiors, you know, because people used to chain smoke back then. There is always a little bit like a haze in the air, you know, so like I really just pay attention. Every time there is an interior shot, there's like a little like a smoke, you know, they shot it beautifully. Like, you know, the bouquet on those lenses is gorgeous, you know, like, you know, they really like, you know, there must have been some anamorphic because you can even see the distortion in the corners. There is on every shot a vignette. And I'm sure it's not just a vignette from the lens. I'm sure Stepan, like, you know, had in his note tree, like a vignette, like all over, you know, every single shot. Just look at it. Like there is always a little, like, a, you know, nice kind of roundness.
Mate, talking of smoke, bloody, I learned a certain amount of my color grading from Luke Rainey. God bless him. He's not with us anymore. You probably remember. He used to smoke a pipe in front of the clients in the bay, a pipe. Fucking pipe there, and there's smoke. You could barely see the clients on the back sofa, and I'd creep in and ask him a few questions. Man, it was crazy. How times had changed. Now we got to move on. But talking about 70s shows with a bit of film grain, Lynette.
Well,
I love the bottom right, the E-type there. I love the look of that. What are you thinking here?
Right. Well, speaking of the 70s, which another thing about colorists bringing something to the table, and that is nostalgia. And so it wasn't even just about the production design and all of that. As you can see, the perfs in the pictures on the upper right and lower left. This was a lot of the material was shot on Super 8, and you know, I know that maybe that could have been something in the past that was overdone. Oh my God, how many music videos did I do in the early parts of my career shot on Super 8 for a fact? But it was just really fun to see it. And I live in Los Angeles, and I actually came to Los Angeles in the beginning of the 80s. And I remember Irvin Johnson coming here too. He's from Michigan, which is where I'm from. We were big fans of the Lakers and what they were doing. And I thought that this show just captured it so fantastically. The lower right is supposed to be, I think, the Playboy Mansion. And Jerry Buss is there with all the vintage cars, and just, I love the palette of it. Upper left, love the palette of the Irvin Johnson character. Very, very clean. And just like Dado was saying, it's not just about making it look like crappy looking, you know, film from the era. It's about having these very clean and beautiful images, but still able to capture that nostalgic feeling of the time.
There's an art to it. There's a real art to it, isn't it? Do you know who colored it?
Yeah. Well, of course, our very, very nice friend Walter Volpato is the colorist on this. So, yeah, Walter's got his hand in everything, all different kinds of looks and all different kinds of either feature films or episodic shows. But yeah, Walter is the colorist on this.
Fantastic.
He's very good at the film emulations, actually.
Yeah, he is.
Kevin, do you have a question yet to win a prize in the Zoom chat? Or shall I give you a bit more time?
No, here's a quick one. Which company does Tim Stippen work for?
Works for Company 3.
Which company does Tim Stippen work for?
Company 3.
Oh, we were not supposed to say that, right?
I think everybody knows that.
It's pretty well known, but it's quickest answer, it gets it. So, Eric.
Yes. What are the chances that someone's not working for Company 3? That's the question you should ask, right? Okay, and
well,
this is
funny you should say that.
Yeah,
there might be a question about it in the big quiz. Dado, Tokyo Vice, HBO again.
Okay. Look, this is a colorist. It doesn't work for Company 3. Okay, his name is Sean Dunkley. Okay, he was at work, started at Company 3, and then he was working for the Light Iron, and now he's with Assembly in New York. And okay, I have to tell you just a little background story why I chose this and why I think that this is absolute masterpiece. I really think this is an absolute masterpiece, right? This show could have been like just done really in a boring way, you know, like it could have been graded, like, you know, like I was looking at, like, I saw also that kind of We Crashed, and I just really decided I will never even talk about this show because it's so boring the way it looks. It just looks like someone slapped 709 on it. But this is an absolute marvel. I love it. Now, the reason why I also love it, I have to tell you, years ago, I used to work for Sony, and then I had to go and visit, you know, Sony in Tokyo. And I thought, oh, it will be cool to book myself into one of those capsule hotels. Like, you know, there was just a thing, you know, and I just kind of went there completely jet lagged. And I woke up, my phone was flat. I was in a capsule. I didn't know what time it is. You know, I just woke up, you know, I was like, where, you know, what's going on? So I kind of put my clothes on, walked out, and I found myself in the middle of this kind of red light district in Tokyo in the middle of night. It was like 3 or 4 a.m. Yet, I mean, that place was going crazy, right? And I ended up, you know, going into a nightclub through like a fridge door, some, you know, it was just unbelievable. I had one of the best nights out ever, right? And I really love that, like a scene, that night scene of Tokyo. And this is really what this movie is all about. You know, it's bringing a little bit Yakuza and all these kind of little, you know, shady clubs, and this character is really, he really exists. You know, this is based on a true story. He's a journalist who learned Japanese and decided to write, you know, the criminal column inside there for their newspaper. It's an amazing thing. Think about it, for a Western person to go and learn Japanese so well to be a journalist. It is absolutely wonderfully done, and the first episode directed by Michael Mann. So I was like, listen, if I don't watch this now, I remember years ago when this was on the table and it was discussed to be shot as a feature film at Warner Brothers. I was back working for them, and it was going to be a feature. I'm so happy they made it now into TV series. And I think, you know, whether it's a combination of Michael Mann and you know, like the Tokyo itself, the palettes, the colors, the you know, it's just absolutely beautiful. It's beautiful. I think
I can see, yeah, I can see the Michael Mann stamp on it just by looking at these stills. And where's Sean based? I know the name. Los Angeles.
No, he's in New York Assembly, yeah.
He's in New York. Sorry, I missed that bit. Great.
Yeah, you know,
right, cool.
New York still has a much better tax credit for post-production. You know, it's just that it had, for some reason, you know, hasn't maybe got the capacity as LA does, right? But it's actually, I think it almost made me think like, you know, I need to revisit some of my, you know, connections with New York again and see what's happening there, because I really think that there is some beautiful creative stuff coming out of New York at the moment.
Yeah,
Well,
we've
my
got a prize
piece is
winner.
going to be. Pardon
Sorry, just that's up for our prize winner.
Oh.
Sorry. Who won the prize? Eric, I believe. There we go. Sorry, Lynette, I cut you off there.
No, I was going to say, and speaking of New York, you keep giving me these intros, Dado. This is the Queens Gambit. And this is done by Stephen Bodner in New York. And I am a huge fan of this guy. He also does The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. And I love this because it is just this marvelous, marvelous combination of production design, hair and makeup, wardrobe, beautiful lighting, beautiful, you know, setups, every one of them. And then the colorist who's gone in and enhanced every single bit of loveliness that they capture on every frame. I mean, every single one of the, if anybody's ever seen this show, everything is a work of art, every single shot and every single angle. And this woman does not have a bad angle. It's just, it's remarkable. And so anyway, I wanted to put a big shout out to Stephen Bodner because I just think that his stuff is just amazing. And it's just so clean and luminous. And the palette is there. You really, really see this vibrant palette, but it's understated at the same time. And that I just love it. And the same is with the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. It's just the combination of production design and wardrobe and hair and makeup and the colorist's ability to capitalize on that. It just to make this very, very clean and vibrant, yet luminous at the same time look.
This is a fantastic segue, because this is Dolby sponsored. This is obviously a Dolby Vision show. How is the HDR? I've started it. I'm not all the way through it. I think it looks great. I love the look of the show. What do you think about the HDR here?
Well, it's beautiful, and that's the other thing. I mean, how many discussions have we had? I, of course, took Dado's HDR class, master class. And what is HDR about? HDR is about not making it HDR and as bright as it can be. It's about understanding how to bring the beautiful color gamut that you have, and being able to optimize that to make it gorgeous and beautiful, but not so bright and overstated that it's just like in your face. And I think the HDR in this is just absolutely beautifully done. What do you think about that, Dado? I mean, I'm preaching to the choir with you.
No, but like you see, one thing that I'm really like paying attention to when I'm analyzing in HDR is I see what's happening with the highlight, and I think what is wonderful to see is when a colorist softens the highlights and doesn't let them just be this kind of peaks, this kind of just this kind of reflective kind of surfaces that kind of just shoot up to 1000 nits, but they have a kind of little softness, little roll off in them, and that looks wonderful in HDR, but doesn't shout, hey, I'm this sharp, bright looking HDR image. And I think this is really like why maybe like an unspoken, like a secret of good HDR colorists is that they really rely not just on color tools, but also on tools that are working, in terms of adding little glow, little texture, little like softness to highlights, roll-offs that really help bring that atmosphere without it being taken away by the kind of the harshness of an HDR that you could normally get if you're just to let it peak to 1000 nits, if all these reflections would just just fly off the table. And I think this is the mastery. This is really like where I start recognizing colorists who have experience grading HDR and are so good at it that they've really spent enough time and effort working on that front, on that highlight front, and how they treat it. And colorists who are, have just graded the show in SDR and just made it a little brighter for HDR. Like, that to me is like a recognizable difference.
Fantastic chat. We're about out of time. We're going to hand over to Ian, but thank you, Lynette and Dado, for joining. That has been fantastic. As always, your support for the iColorist and the Colorist Society and the mixers in general has been really good. It's good to see you both. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having. Yeah.
Dado's product, Color Lab, is absolutely worth checking out if you haven't.
Oh, thank you, Jeff. Thank you for the support.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I can't let you get out of here without saying it, man.
Yeah, nice one. Nice one. Good one, buddy.
Good to see you all. I'm going to be hanging around a little bit and watching this great program. Thank you guys for having me.
A message to all you people who are watching a recording of this in June or July. You are too lazy to come live. You ain't going to win any fucking prizes, are you? So come to a live event and watch it live, and then you can win and interact with these fantastic guests that we've got going on here. That's my rant over. Ian.
Hello, Warren.
How are you, buddy? How are you?
Good. I'm good. I'm apologetic. I'm in Italy in a hotel with not very good internet, so apologies for not sharing my video, but if I do that, the thing crashes. So it's better that you see the slides and listen to my lovely voice.
Oh, lovely.
And thanks, Dado. I think you and Lynette really summarised kind of what HDR and the tools are that are available for colorists very, very well. It's not about making it super bright and you know, shop storefront. It's very much about telling the story and using the tools and the creativity that the tools give you to tell that story. It's you know, that's the right way to do things. So we've got 5 minutes. Yes, Warren?
Yes, 5 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's really get on. So really an extension to the Dolby Vision story is what I want to kind of outline in the next few minutes. So let's get started. So from our point of view, certainly in Europe, we see the Dolby Vision Master as being like, let's call it the Uber Master. If you make it in Dolby Vision, then pretty much any delivery that's required by a broadcaster, by a streaming service, by a whatever, can be delivered from that Dolby Vision metadata. And it's really kind of up to the content owner to decide to make it in that way and then deliver it to whatever service. And there have been a bunch of shows that pretty much have been delivered in all 4 flavors. Things like Atom Bring Color, as an example, was delivered via the BBC in HLG and SDR, via Channel 7 in Australia in SDR, and via Netflix to the rest of the world in any other format that they were delivering from the Dolby Vision Master. So it's a really cool way, I think, for content owners to realize that one master can really be transcoded, rendered into any format. And so a little while back, we released a development kit to allow cinema trims to happen from that home cinema master. And we all know about the time and date delivery for cinema versus home, drastically changing and shortening, et cetera, et cetera. So we released a set of targets for the 4 flavors that you see on screen, and those have been implemented in Baselight and Grass Valley Rio in their latest software release to date. It's also available via Dolby as a beta set of trims in Resolve for a 48 nit D65 Gamma 2.6 or a Dolby Cinema version 108 nit. These cinema targets should be treated right now as independent from the sort of Dolby Vision home metadata. So almost like a new project rather than mixed in with the home targets. As time progresses, as studios accept home and cinema existing in one metadata package, then this may well change. But right now, treat them as independent. And so when we look at the kind of ways that this works, on the right-hand side, we have the typical Dolby Vision idea. You grade it on a master monitor, you generate some metadata. Why are we generating the metadata? Because we have no clue what the consumer device capability will be in terms of luminance performance, whether it's an OLED or an LCD or a tablet or a mobile phone. And that's where the metadata comes in driving the renderer inside the consumer device to give you the optimal picture. If we look at the Dolby Cinema performance, then it is 108 nits, typically in P3, and it's in PQ with a D6500 white point. And that's the way the cinema projectors in an AMC in the Americas or in a Pathé in Europe, etc., that's the way they're set up. And we all know in a DCI world that, you know, it's a 48 nit 2.6 gamma with a DCI white point, etc. The real change there is it's 48 nits at best. It's probably like that in a grading room, and it's probably half that in many, many cinemas due to the cinema owner running the light at a lower output. So what's the process for delivering this home as a primary delivery in Dolby Vision, and then as a cinema delivery, let's say as a secondary delivery? You grade as normal your Dolby Vision Master, all of the tools the same as you would have done with version 4. I should say this is only available in version 4. No difference at all. complete all of the tasks as you've done normally. And then what you can now do is do the same with a cinema delivery with these new targets, and so that you can output the same profile but with cinema targets, and you would render those out. So there is no metadata in these new versions. The metadata is just allowing you to render them. So in a Resolve or a Baseline or whatever, you would select the Dolby Vision metadata and you would just render out those versions out as either a DCI version or as a Dolby Cinema version. So very powerful. It allows you to trim them. If I just go back a slide, it allows you to trim them in exactly the same way as you have done with your home grade. It allows you to trim that render. So if you were instead of a Rec 709 monitor for Dolby Vision, you were connected to a projector, you could now trim that using the same trim tools, but obviously to a DCI projector or a Dolby Cinema projector. So it's kind of an interesting extension to people. Think of it being maybe available for cast and crew people on the one hand, or maybe for a limited release where somebody just simply wants to provide a cinema version of a show. Again, works perfectly. We've had a couple of facilities, one in Poland, actually do this on 2 of their shows because the time and date between the cinema release and the home release was too close. So they did the home release first, and then they made a cinema version. And one of their shows was the top release in Poland for a couple of weeks as a cinema release in terms of revenue performance. So it definitely works as a way to go through. 2 things to sort of note. As we mentioned at the start, in Resolve, there is no DCI trim function. So at the moment, you would output a D6500, and when you make your DCP, in whatever tools you use, you would convert that from 6500 to 6300 in terms of white point. Again, some people would tell me in Europe that's what they've been doing for years, because they'll grade on a sort of a Rec 709 projector setting and just simply make a DCI conversion in the DCP processing. So that all works and works pretty well. For those of you that want to grab this QR code, we have a knowledge-based site. It's packed full of tons of stuff. If you follow the QR code or the web link and go there and type in cinema trims, then again, you'll find some best practice guides and some FAQs on how to do these cinema trims there as well. So it's a good resource for everything, but it's a great resource to find out this new kind of workflow and what you can do with it.
Fantastic, Ian. And one of your prizes is your training, one of your training offers. It is. And I believe you're giving away a license as well, which is a fantastic prize. Yeah. 6-month license for anyone who wants to have a play. Yeah. Which is nothing like jumping in and playing. Just tell us quickly about the training. How do we get that? We go to this web address?
No, there's a separate one called Dolby Pro Store. I didn't put that up as a slide, Warren, but that's where you book all of the training that we offer. We offer that in 2 time zones, Europe and America, and we also offer a Spanish version as well. Spanish language.
And are you back in the classrooms, Ian, with Abby and the classroom training yet, or is it still virtually?
It's all virtual training, and to be honest, Warren, I think what's really good about the courses, well, certainly the ones we run in Europe that we have experience of, you get a great mix of people from different countries in Europe and different levels of experience. The great part is that we encourage people not to sit back and not ask the dumb question, because you can guarantee that everyone else in the room wants to ask that question. They're just not brave enough to answer.
Yeah.
And the flip side of that is we equally get people with experience kind of chatting back to people in the rest of the group about experiences they've had, tricks of the trade, and kind of sharing.
Yeah.
It's a great experience.